Hello, that was really, really fast. Welcome to Dojo Live this Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. My name is Kim Lantis, and it's my pleasure to be joined by co-host America Guerrero once again.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Lori. Hi, Kim.
Hello, hello. Hello, Lori. Our guest of honor today, Lori Schafer, is the CEO of Digital Wave Technology, and we're very excited to be speaking with you today.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and it's always super exciting. I might be a bit partial here, not impartial. It's always exciting for me when we get to speak to female leadership here on Dojo Live. All right, we're breaking ground that percentage is increasing, but not increasing quite enough to my liking. So it's great to have this balance.
Well, I've been groundbreaking my whole life, so
I love it, and we're going to talk about that story. And I think that's a really great intro, actually. You know, before we get into riding the digital wave and unleashing AI's potential for products, we'd like to know your story, Lori. What's your story? What's your passion, and what's led up to digital wave technology?
Well, what's my story? What's my passion? I have plenty of passions, both inside of work and outside of work. I will say that I'll start with passions. I'm both a creative person and a technical person at the same time. So I like whenever creativity and technology meet. I love the ocean, digital wave. I love sports. I love photography. Those are some of my passions. With respect to work, I started my career with Procter and Gamble, and started with way back when, about 30 years ago, with what's called operations research, which is kind of the predecessor to artificial intelligence. A lot of mathematics. I worked at P&G developing models to help them with advertising. And then I decided I liked branding, brand management, and sales better than I liked coding. So my career kind of combined the two. I then moved into retail and retail technology. I built a few startups. So I went from very large company to small companies, and then I sold one of those startups to a very large analytic technology company, a global company, multi-billion-dollar analytics company. And then I decided once again, after many years there at an executive level, that I really wanted to pursue my passion again, which is entrepreneurship. And so that's how we got to Digital Wave.
That's awesome. And what about Digital Wave? I mean, I love the name. I love the logo there. What is it that you're doing and the problem that you're solving?
Great question. So Digital Wave is a strategic partner, we like to say, to both brands and retailers. And what we do is we accelerate the omni-channel sales. So brands and retailers sell products. And those products nowadays, as we all know, the customer journey in purchasing those products is both online through many different selections. The customer may be they may be on a website, they may be in a place like Amazon or other marketplaces, they may be on Pinterest, they may be on Instagram, on TikTok, and they may be in the store. And every product, we have to tell that story wherever that customer shops. And so what we do, we're a software as a service company, Digital Wave Technology. And basically what we do is we collect all of that product information. We integrate the systems behind the scenes that these large companies use, enterprise software, and we collect all of that product information, data and information in one single place. As we say, it's one single version of the truth. And then we allow those companies to tell a much better and rich product story through video, through images, through product descriptions and attribution. And then we publish that out so that whenever a customer goes to each of those different places, we have the same brand story, the same brand equity.
For sure, it is like a consulting slash SaaS slash service slash partnership. I see that there is an ocean of information, right? What is the analogy with this logo and what you just shared about your company?
You mean in terms of the Digital Wave logo, America?
Yes.
Yes, that's a great question. So we named the company Digital Wave. Two partners, investors and myself, started the company. We chose the name Digital Wave Technology, plain and simply because number one, in technology happens to come in large waves. About every decade, there is a significant change in technology. When you think about, we've come through, just in the last 20 years, we've come through the whole idea of the internet and then e-commerce and then all of digital commerce, omni-channel, being able to sell products wherever the customer shops. And now we are into a very big wave of generative AI, which I'll speak about today as well. So
Yeah.
that's why the name Digital Wave. We want to help our customers ride that wave until the next wave of technology hits.
That's really great. I mean, it actually, this alignment of what we had on Tuesday's show with Scott Stewart of
Scott was a
yeah, you
Scott
saw
was a
it.
great
I can't
speaker.
remember the TMA. I
Yes.
can't remember what it stands for right now. But he was talking a lot about this in terms of the waves. His was more in the terms of like what's happening financially. the
Silicon
ups and
Valley,
downs.
yes.
But yeah, I
Yes,
mean, there's a
yes.
lot of overlaps here, and it's interesting to see how technology is kind of directly correlated, right? Who knows if it's
Yes,
cause
it
and
is.
effect or just coincidence, but maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, his discussion was great. And Scott, if you're listening, I hope I can articulate things as well as you. But he
Oh,
talked about Silicon Valley and it's kind of now in a dip in terms of investment and so forth. And the economy is very challenging right now. But at the same time, we have this very exciting wave of technology. And so it's kind of a dichotomy. But what we're enjoying this because in a tough economy, we really help our customers become more profitable and highly efficient at the same time.
of course. So let's take this back to this current wave, this generative AI wave, and the question that we're hoping to answer today.
Sure.
America, what is that question?
How can AI lead to profitable product sales, process efficiency, and higher customer satisfaction? Could you
Oh,
please
I've
share
seen
with
that
us?
title before.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like I said, we're an enterprise software company that really takes the product journey and maps that out through the companies we work with, which are large brands, Fortune 100 type brands, smaller brands as well, and then the retailers as well that sell those products. And what we have really added to our solutions and also allowing customers to purchase standalone are some new generative AI. Think of them as modules or solutions that they can purchase. And when you start to think about all the ways that you can use generative AI for products, there's many, and we're developing many different solutions as we speak. Just since January, generative AI has become very popular. One of the ways that we're using generative AI is that if you think about, you think about a website, think about a retailer's website that you may go to. Think about maybe the advertising you see, whether it be online, on a Instagram or TikTok, what have you. They all have content, product content, which is describing that product, telling its story. On a website, for example, a company like Neiman Marcus or Tapestry, they may be Coach, Kate Spade, those types of companies, they call that romance copy. They want to let you tell that story. And so now what we're doing with generative AI is we're automating that. Our systems allow those stories to be created, but now generative AI will automatically tell that story about the product. So it'll automate that process by automating web copy, for example.
Wow.
Also think about if you're a big consumer brand, think about whether you make healthcare products or toothpaste or popcorn or candy bars, whatever it may be. You may, you do a lot of advertising. And with generative AI now, instead of having to hire and always work with a photography studio and really having to figure out which lifestyle image you may want to have behind the scenes and which product copy, we can automate that, where the computer creates the lifestyle image, let's say of a lady holding a handbag or a gentleman eating a candy bar at Super Bowl. And then that image is computer generated, and likewise that copy, that brand copy, is generated as well. So it's highly efficient, and it actually tells the story incredibly well, in a very efficient way.
That's interesting. I wanted to take it back to this, the omni-channelness I think I get, and
Yeah, sure.
the story itself. But I guess my question is it, you alluded to this idea of it being the same story, but I'm also wondering, is it effective to have different stories depending on which channel you're utilizing, who the audience is that's more likely to be utilizing said channel? I mean, what you find in TikTok is going to be very different than what you're finding on Facebook or elsewhere. What does that look like? Like, how do we have this connectivity between the story, yet the variations that different audiences might require?
That's a great question, because the brand equity, as a consumer brand, and whether that be again, a company selling a consumer product, or this blazer, fashion brand, or a retailer with many different types of brands, they still want to convey the message in their brand voice. But at the same time, to your point, you've got to be able to tell that story differently depending on where that customer is shopping. So for example, like you said, on TikTok, you may want to tell that story with humor. It's going to be a video story. So what we're able to do is stay on brand topic, but at the same time, make that story more personalized to where the customer's shopping. And we're able to store, if you will, in this, think of it as a gigantic database, if you will, of product information. We call it the single place to go and know all things product. We've got the videos, we've got the images, we've got a content depending on where we publish that content out to. So if I'm on TikTok, it's going to look very different, and it's usually a different audience, perhaps, a different generation of audiences than perhaps if we were to publish on Facebook. So
Right.
we take all that into account.
And this is real. Like, this is happening. This isn't just your projection of what AI is going to be doing.
No,
it is doing.
No, this is real. We have a long way to go with AI, and we also use AI, for example, in determining the optimal pricing for products. So we have different solutions in more business terms of our industry. We have something called product experience management that, again, collects all that data, tells the story, publishes the data out. We have something called product master data management that houses everything and connects to I should say hundreds, but dozens of systems in a large company's back office to pull all that data together. And then on the front end, also, as I mentioned, we have price optimization, coming up with the perfect price points. We have generative AI solutions that can plug into your website, or your many different systems that then allow you to automate that process. We work with a lot of companies that have hundreds of thousands to millions of products that they sell. So if you think of a large mass merchandiser like a Target or a Walmart, or you think of a large department store like a Neiman Marcus, they have millions of products you don't realize, but they have to have all of those descriptions, that content, all of the images, the videos, and they need to get to them and continually update those products. To do all that manually is
literally impossible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's possible, but what happens is it takes forever to get products to market. So with the systems that we provide, what we do is we automate a lot of that processing, and we're able to get those products to market much faster. We're able to improve sales because we improve the search, what's called SEO, or search engine optimization. and allowing customers to search and find those products much faster and making sure that, your company's products get selected.
Wow.
As one of your users with generative AI, how do you make sure that they are going to get or they are going to generate something unique? I'm thinking that, for example, if you want to create a campaign about selling shoes and there is another client of yours that is also selling shoes, how do I make sure that that client that is also my competition is not going to get the same solution?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a really good question. I mean, I use using ChatGPT just to like play around, and I found
Uh-huh,
some meme,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
something where it's like you choose, X director, X main actress, X main actor, and then like some genre story, and then it's gonna kick out this like movie description. And it was super fun and entertaining, but I'm like, they totally pulled their influence from, or it, not they, whatever. I was like, okay, that's fun, but it's definitely got like Titanic influence and different things where I could immediately identify like the storyline that was created, right? So I think that's a really great question. How do you avoid duplicity?
It is a good question. I think, one of the things if you've experimented with generative AI, it's all about the prompt. It's also about understanding the ethics and the security that you need to have with generative AI, because you don't want to tell your confidential information to different generative AI companies per se, and have it publicized. That's the big fear. You mentioned ChatGPT. We use ChatGPT, and we use a number of other large language models and different types of generative AI. To best describe it, what we do is, again, the company itself. We teach the company how to use the software. We can do a service if they want, but usually these large companies want to take things and make sure it's highly secure within their parameters. And within that prompt where you describe what you want, that company is those prompts are confidential to the company. So they own those prompts, we don't. Our software is highly secure so that we're not, through what's called API connectivity, we're not sharing that company's information at all with the generative AI behind the scenes. But in that prompt, what companies can do is really talk in their own brand voice. They have certain ways that they want to communicate. They have certain specific, descriptions and something about the company that really gives that, again, that brand voice. If I'm Procter and Gamble, I used to work there, I have a certain way that I communicate about my products. And so that's how we keep it confidential and secure, if that helps.
It does help. Excuse me. I was also wondering about this idea of this. At what point does quality control step in? At what point is your recommendation that a human is intervening and saying this is good to go, this isn't good to go? I mean, certain recent examples, I think we already talked about Target here, but a lot of this canceling, right? I'm not trying to get political. I'm not trying to go on one side of the fence or the other, but Target is a recent example. Bud Light is a recent example of like, whoops, that didn't really go the way that we expected it to go. Or maybe it did go the way that we expected it to go. I don't know. But how might that quality control component, at what point would you say we still need people to be the ultimate decision makers?
Let me be very clear. At least I'll say for the foreseeable future, I do not, and no one in our company believes that Gen AI should be used on autopilot. Gen AI should be used as your co-pilot, and you need human intervention. You need it to be secure so that your story and your confidential information is not shared outside, and we provide that security. But you also need the ethics of making sure that humans, throughout the workflow of working with the product along its whole journey, from the time the product's created all the way through to when that product is sold on the digital shelf or on the physical shelf, um, or, or in the aisle, depending if it's an apparel good or if it's a consumer product. When you think about it, all through that journey, we automate using generative AI. So we speed the process up. But those same humans that did that work before, they still need to be the oversight. And what generative AI gives them is that ability to step back and approve. But you don't, at this point in time, you do not want to use generative AI as the autopilot. You want it to be your co-pilot and make you more efficient.
Making you more efficient, broadening your bandwidth, right? Instead of me
Yes.
maybe having 10 campaigns, I can now have 100 or something.
Correct. That's right. And they're written, and they're probably written better. Because when you think about how long it takes a human to write something and make it sound good, generative AI is very quick, and it's very
Or we
quick
even get like
imaging and
tunnel visioned or something, where it's like suddenly we're using the same voice and the same story everywhere. And I think maybe to help break out the creativity, it could even be like I don't know, that little spark that like, oh, okay, let's go down that path.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another way we use generative AI is something called product attribution. You say, well, gosh, what's that? And what it is that when you look at any website, of any brand, any retailer out there, a bank selling products, they describe the product with sentences, right? The copy, as we call it. But then they have bulleted points about the product. If it's shampoo, it might be for a certain hair type. It might be for a certain hair color. If it's a type of, say, in a drugstore, it's some sort of over-the-counter medication. It's going to talk about the ounces, the type of medication, for example, in Tylenol.
If it's furniture, it talks about how to take care of it, or can it be machine washable if it's a garment?
Machine washable. All those things are called attributes. And what a company gives a lot of thought to those attributes that they put in. The reason that is so important is because then when you go to search for that item as a consumer, the person buying the product, you think about the way you want to describe the product, and that company selling the product wants that product to pop up first, right? They get more sales that way. The consumer's satisfied. Aha, that's a perfect description of what I want, and they purchase it. So generative AI, what we're able to do is, instead of having to manually think of all those attributes, we're able to use different models so that we can look at an item. We can take attributes off the image of the item. Hey, this is a blue blazer, certain brand, etc. We can then look at the different things like the manuals, the specifications for the product, read those in, and then automatically generative AI produces those attributes, which in turn produces search engine optimization, which is what allows consumers to find your product.
This is like the machine learning component back there, and like the data analysis. Like, it's not just repeating the same story, but it's also learning what stories worked and which ones didn't.
It's self-learning, yes. So it does learn over time, and you want it to learn in your own, again, as a company, their own brand voice. And that's really where we focus. In addition to the capabilities to really bring that product through the enterprise and things like product experience management and larger enterprise systems, now we're adding ChatGPT and many other types of generative AI into those processes, so that customers can say, hey, I need to focus here first. Let's take 6 million items and generate the web copy and all the attribution, and it improves efficiency by about 90%, we're finding. And then on top of that, you're able to get many more products out, tell a better story about the product, find it better in search, and the companies using this type of technology are going to both sell more and be more efficient at the same time.
This technology feels like magic. This feels like that people were not expecting this. Like, this wave is here. How do you think that the next wave is going to look like?
Beyond generative AI?
Yes.
Yeah, great question. Boy, I wish I had a crystal ball for that. I think this wave is going to be here for, at least the next decade. And the whole wave of AI, generative AI is only a piece of the whole AI wave. But I think what we're going to start to find is, again, more and more automation. Maybe at some point in the future, we can let go of some of the things and not be the co-pilot as humans. But for now, I think it's important that we stay that way. The other thing which you're going to find, and some things we're already doing now in our, let's just say in our experiment laboratory, in our R&D team and data science team, is we're already putting things together like voice on large systems so that the person can ask any question in plain English and then have it search for the specific data to answer that question. So I mean, right now, the opportunities seem limitless. I think, there's a long way to go. We're just at the very tip of the iceberg with generative AI and making it more so that the average person and the average, business people within companies and, brands and retailers who we work with, it makes it so that the average business person can now use it without having to, have the technology expertise behind it.
Are you the real Lori? This
Are you
makes
the
me
real
think
Lori?
that you're utilizing digital wave right now.
No. The real Lori's 30 years younger, better looking,
I love
has
it.
more fun.
I think this is, now you got me laughing and I can't remember my question. No, I mean, I think this is very fantastic. I do remember my question now. This idea of inclusivity, this idea of everyone, like you were mentioning, being, or maybe even we have to become engineers, right? This isn't the first time that this has come up on Dojo Live recently. I think in the last 2-3 months of prompt engineering is where it's at. That is something that we all need to sharpen our skills with. I think the current younger generation won't have any problem with that, but it's a way to kind of keep up. I really like this idea of integrating voice with what you're doing. I think that's amazing. Not only is it convenient for anyone and everyone, but it's especially inclusive for those who might be visually impaired or anything else. I think that's amazing, or auditory impairments. So what I would like to do, we're coming to the final few minutes of today's show. I'd like to bring it back to you, Lori, as a person, as this wave you've been riding over the last 30 years, particularly as a woman. What have you seen? There she is. There's Zoe. I told you she's going to interrupt the show today. That's all good. So what's this experience been like for you? What advice might you have to stay on top of that wave and not to kind of crash and burn? Or if you do crash and burn, how do you recover?
Well, most people have trouble with change. I love change, but change is painful. And this is a big change. At the same time, though, you have to change. You have to embrace change, I believe. Doesn't mean that you can't be fearful, but you have to embrace change. You have to be intellectually curious. I just love to learn, and I would encourage anyone, and especially in business or even in their personal life, but as a businesswoman, to really learn and learn what's coming next, and look at how you can adapt your company constantly, because what is happening now, especially with the different waves of technology, they're happening faster and faster and faster. When you think about how fast people caught on to ChatGPT and Gen AI, it's only been well known since the beginning of this year. I mean, when you think about it, and yet you look at, back to the age of the telephone, how long did that take? That took 10, 15 years. The internet, that still took a lot of time. And what's happening is personal computer. They all take a long, they get shorter and shorter in terms of technology waves. So what I talk with my company about all the time, all of my staff, and trying to keep them excited and embracing change all the time. You have to be intellectually curious. You have to look ahead. You want to make sure that you really understand and learn everything you can about what's happening, and then applying that internally to say, okay, where do we need to adapt to next? You cannot, the world of being a company that has a 5-year business plan and sticks to that plan, that world's gone. And, the world's now becoming something where you have to adapt all the time.
I love it. Any final tip that's helped you in that adoption personally? Adaptation, not
adaptation. It's, being intellectually curious, I think, is the key. I read every morning, everything I can. Now I use generative AI to make myself more efficient. In that reading and in watching videos, I make sure that I, transcribe them quickly, read the transcription before using generative AI before I have to read the whole thing and decide whether it's worth it. So I'm looking in this new world of, in addition to my own company becoming more efficient so that we can better help our customers, also each of us becoming more efficient and constantly learning, but applying some of this new technology to my day-to-day life. How can I get more done and focus on the right things? And there's a lot of tools out there now that are allowing me to be far more efficient in learning.
That's one application of generative AI that hadn't even crossed my mind. Like, I'm just going to copy paste this news article, pop it here, ask for a summary. Do I want to read it or not?
That's fantastic. Right. Think about this is on YouTube. Yeah. And there's generative AI that you can just run a transcript from YouTube. It'll summarize it, top bullet points, read it. Yeah. And then of course you're going to want to watch this whole web.
Of course. This show with Lori Schafer has been fantastic.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure learning from you today. Spending this time with you. We wish you, of course, and Digital Wave Technology nothing but success as you move forward. And of course, you're welcome back on our show anytime. Stick around for just one moment as we go off air. But before we do, we'd like to talk about the 2 shows we've got coming up next week. America, are you ready for that, or shall I dive in?
No, you normally say we are going to talk about that on Monday.
Our recap show.
That's why I'm not prepared.
Adaptation. We've got 2 shows coming up next week on the 8th and the 9th. First with Niftify with Bruno Ver and Super Social with Jonathan Raz Friedman. So check that out, 10 o'clock Pacific, as always. And check out all of our great shows. Get those transcripts. Figure out if you want to watch them, and you will want to watch them here on Dojo Live. Until next time, take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you.